we'll start with the big news today. It was the draw for the Europa League last 16 was made, and we've drawn against Slavia Prague. So, Steve, what's your initial thoughts on that, on getting Slavia Prague in the last 16?
Well, initially it was probably a wee bit of relief. We maybe missed some of the bigger teams in there, to be honest. Don't know too much about them, but I think that we kind of get lucky, and it maybe we could definitely get a harder tie. But looking into it a bit more, there's definitely, they look like they've got a bit of quality about them as well. I don't think it's going to be as easy a game as maybe people initially thought. And looking at it last night, they obviously put Leicester out 2-0 away from home at Leicester. So they've obviously got a wee bit of quality in there, but I'm happy with it. I think it could have been a lot worse, and I definitely think it'll be a competitive game. And I think we've got enough to do a good to counter ourselves, basically. And I am happy with it. I'm happy.
I think Stephen's bang on. It could have been a lot worse. I mean, we could have been one of the so-called Champions League teams that are in there. It's sort of, I don't know, Slavia. I would call Slavia sort of a mid-range team that we could have got. You know, there's teams that would be perceived to be easier for us, although you don't get easy games in the last 16 of European competition, right enough. But I mean, the way I'm thinking about it is, everybody was saying yesterday before the games, if we go through, we don't want to get Leicester City. And Slavia Prague, if I can say it, put Leicester City out. So that tells you that they're nobody's mugs. And looking at the way football fans look at things, Slavia Prague are the length of Socky Hall Street ahead of Sparta Prague in the league. Sparta Prague took 8 off of that other lot, so we shouldn't stand a chance. If you use football logic.
Yeah. Lucky football's not logical then. Hey, well, are you happy with that?
Yeah, look, I think it's one of those draws. Like, you can obviously sit and pick out teams that you think are of a lesser quality. You know, a lot of people had obviously treated a bit Molde, but then they knock out a top Bundesliga team. So, you know, I totally agree with Wolf. I think when you get to this stage of the competition, it's quality across the board. It might just be that, you know, the names don't match up, kind of thing. But, you know, you don't get to this stage if you're not a good team. You've obviously beaten good teams to get to this stage of the competition. So, you know, we're not being disrespectful to anybody. Slavia is clearly going to be a tough test over the 2 games. You know, we kind of said before the pod started, I think this will be a totally different 2 legs to Antwerp. I don't see us being quite so open, quite so attack-minded. I think we'll be a lot more kind of savvy away from home and hopefully try and steal that away goal. But yeah, look, Slavia looked a pretty good team from what I see in the highlights against Leicester. And they've got a couple of real quality players at the top end of the pitch that come maybe the end of this season, there'll be a few of the top teams in Europe sniffing about these guys, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think my initial thoughts when I seen it, I kind of wrote down, because I'm sad, 1 to 15 who I wanted to get, and Slavia Prague were actually, you know, second top of that list after Molde. But when as Steve said earlier on, I done a wee bit more digging into them, and you know, the Europa League group they had itself was Leverkusen, Nice and Beersheva, and they came through that group all right. Probably the highlight is they lost 4-0 to Leverkusen. You know, I'm trying to look at, from a Rangers point of view, where's the weaknesses here, and you know, they did lose 4-0 to Leverkusen. Obviously, we played them this season and lost 1-0, although that was right at the very start. I mean, they're top of the league, as you said, Wolf. Do you think, and they're undefeated as well in the league, which is obviously, so are we, hopefully, and we still are by the time it comes. Do you see that them being confident of drawing us, or do you see them as a banana skin for them? Do you think they fancied it?
I don't think anybody was looking forward to drawing us, but I think that the Czechs were probably in the same boat. They're looking at it saying, right, what's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? We'd probably be one of their. We'd probably on the same level for them as we think they are for us, if that makes sense. They would probably have preferred to get Molde or Granada, but they would have wanted to avoid Milan and Man United. So they're probably happy enough to have us, because for them it could have been an awful lot worse in their eyes, you know. But it could have been a little bit better. So I think it's, as William says, I think it could be a cracking tie. They should be two well matched sides, so it could be really good.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. When you look at Slavia, you know, I'm trying to look at it from like a non-Rangers point of view. So without being like disrespectful to Rangers, obviously, when you're looking at it from Slavia's point of view, they probably think that's a pretty good draw for us. You know, we've not got some of the top teams that's in, you know, sort of remaining in the competition. So it's probably two kind of teams that are semi-happy with the draw, in all honesty, because they've stayed clear of the big boys in the competition. But then, like, you see, like, some of the other draws, like sort of Granada could go through into the last 8. Like Rangers or Slavia Prague could make it through to the last 8. I mean, that's a big deal considering we're not really deemed to be some of the top leagues in Europe. So, it's a big deal. So I'm really looking forward to the 2 games. I genuinely think it will be one of those really tight tactical 2 games. I don't think it'll be quite as open as I said earlier, but genuinely really looking forward to seeing how good this Slavia team is after knocking out Leicester.
I think that's definitely right there as well, because I think it's going to be a good contest. I think, like the guys are saying, I think both teams are quite generally quite happy. I think it could have been worse, but it could have maybe been a wee bit better. But I think it's probably quite evenly matched across the board. I can see that Slavia Prague are probably a wee bit more tighter defensively and a wee bit better going forward than Antwerp. So it's definitely a level up. And I think we've got to look forward to that, see the players playing against a better team as well, and see how they actually manage it. Because that was one of the things, see if we got a bigger team, maybe a Man United or a Tottenham or something like that. I was actually really looking forward to seeing how the players managed against a higher quality player like a Kamara in there, and see how he was going to compete against them. So, but it's definitely a level up again from like Antwerp. So it should be a good game. I think it'll be like William saying. I think it's going to be very, very tactical. I don't think there's going to be as many goals as the last round, to be honest. But you never know. But I still think we've probably got enough to see it out, to be honest.
Yeah, for that to happen, we'll really need to tighten up at the back, I think, because we've lost a few sloppy goals in Europe this year. Not just in the games with Antwerp. When you go back to the group stage, we lost a few sloppy goals as well. And as Stephen says, it's another step up. I don't think they're Benfica level, but it's a step up from Antwerp. So we'll need to tighten up a bit at the back, but we'll certainly make chances because we're really good going forward. So it should be a really, really good couple of games.
There's a couple of key points that I'll just pick out them if you don't mind, William. We mentioned that Slavia would be happy. That I heard on the radio tonight the players were celebrating when they heard they got Rangers. So I hope Steven Gerrard has let the boys know that, and I hope they've heard that same thing, because they're going to get a fright if we hit form like we did last night. They're going to get a fright, put it that way. And I thought it was quite funny when I heard that. But the other point you've mentioned is obviously, William, we're losing goals in Europe, unfortunately, the last couple of games, and even in the group stages. For me, Ryan Jack is a big part of that in Europe. How key is it to try and get him, or hopefully he'll be back for the 11th of March for the first leg?
Yeah, I think it's massive. I think we've spoke all season about the importance of Ryan Jack and the way that he sits in front of that back four and protects it. You've seen at times when he's out, we do lack that player that can do a similar style of job. And it's really difficult to try and teach somebody to do that job, because it gets us, I don't know, like it's like a natural thing for Ryan. He just does it so well. In the past, we've had guys like Stuart McCall could do it really well. And I think that's something that, like, moving forward, it's probably the type of player we are now looking for as a replacement for Ryan, like further down the line, because you do need to start thinking about that. But I do think over these 2 legs, we'll need to be very sharp defensively. If we concede probably any more than 2 or 3 goals over the 2 legs, I think we could be in trouble, because this team just don't seem to concede that many goals overall. And I think when you look at that Leicester team, and I know they had Maddison missing last night, but to keep them goalless over 2 games is a pretty difficult task, given how Leicester play. They're usually pretty open, pretty attack-minded. So that would suggest that we're going to have our hands full trying to score goals, never mind stop them conceding at the other end.
I think that's a good point there, as well, because I think we maybe got away a wee bit with it last night in the other game as well, in a sense that we could probably out-punch Antwerp attackingly. I think Gerrard felt like we could score more goals than them, so in a sense we could get away without having Jack, but I think it is quite important that he's probably, if we can get him back in the next game, because a wee bit of a worry is not only that we're losing goals in the last couple of games in Europe, but some of them have been quite poor goals in my opinion as well. We've kind of let in. I felt like defensively we could have easily cut out some of them. I think in the first leg as well, some of the goals we conceded for like the sort of set pieces weren't too great, and it's not like us, to be honest, either this season. So I definitely think Jack could go in there and probably tighten us up a wee bit, because I think what William was saying, I don't think there's going to be as many goals in this, and I don't think if we can concede too many, I think it'll be a big ask for us, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not just the goals we're conceding; it's the chances we're giving up. You know, it's not they're not. When Antwerp scored 5 over 2 games, but they had a few other chances beside that. And as Stephen said, okay, we were always going to outpunch them by scoring more goals on them, but they could have got another few goals. I mean, that tie could have ended up aggregate score of 18-12 or something. The amount of chances that were flying about.
Yeah,
you know. But go back to the point, Derek, about them celebrating when they found out the draw. I actually saw it on the news tonight. They actually had footage of it. They were on the plane. They must have been just getting ready to fly back.
Hopefully,
and the guys on the phone at the front of the plane, and all he said was Glasgow, and they all started jumping about. So hopefully Rangers have got that footage.
Well,
and at the team meeting, they say, "Look, guys, this is what they think."
Well,
you know, that's the team talk done.
Well, hopefully they underestimate us, as I said just a couple of minutes ago. If they underestimate us, they're going to get a fright. We won't underestimate them. Our coaching staff's too conscientious for that. We'll be expecting a massive level up from Antwerp, and for me that'll bring out the best in us as well. I thought we were a bit loose last night because we probably knew we were better in every department than Antwerp, whereas it's a lot more even now, so I can see a more cautious approach, and for me that brings out the best in us. So Wolf, come back to yourself. The away game's first on the 11th of March. Do you see that being a benefit because we can go and almost feel them out in this first game?
It's only a benefit if we score out there. I think we really need the away goal. I mean, if the first leg's at home, you know what you've got to do away from home where away goals are concerned. You know whether the opposition scored an away goal or not. But if you're going away first, you really need to score. If we go there, even if we lose sort of 2-1 or 3-2 or whatever, which I hope we don't do, but it's the important thing is that we score out there. You know, that gives us something. That means they have to come at us when we come back. They can't just sit in.
Yeah, William, what do you think, William? Do you think the home? Do you think we've got any advantage being away from home first? Or are you not too bothered?
I suppose like the old kind of sort of rule of thumb used to be you preferred to play away from home first if you wanted to see what you had to bring back to Ibrox. But I don't know how much it matters now with the fact there's no fans in any of the stadiums. I don't know if that's quite the benefit maybe that it once was. Like if you went to Prague and get a 0-0 draw and then you come back to Ibrox, you had 50,000 Rangers fans bouncing about the stadium. It can sometimes be a shock for the teams, but they're not going to have that. So I don't know how much it means as it once did. For me, I tend to agree with Wolf. I think it's important we get the away goal. You know, I think when you go to these games at this stage of the competition, obviously last time around we drew a Leverkusen team who were just a different level for us on that night, and guys like Havertz were just too much quality. Obviously Slavia aren't of that standard, but you know, if you go over there and lose 2-0, it's going to be a hell of a battle to come back from that. So I think it's important we hopefully get the clean sheet and all being well, maybe try and steal that away goal.
I totally agree with the guys there, to be honest. I think, like William's saying, if you're coming back, your away leg's first and you're coming back and you maybe need a couple of goals, if you can get an early start and the fans are there, it can really get the place rocking and it can actually put the bit of pressure on the team, do you know what I mean? So, but this team are I'm quite comfortable with this team going away, for Rangers going away from home and doing a job over there. The confidence they've kind of given or put into the fans over the last few years has been brilliant. And I think as well what we were saying previously about that video, I've not seen it myself, but Rangers I feel like they're a big game mentality, this team as well. They turn up in the big games and they'll be looking forward to that. So it'd be like, they'll all be delighted when they've seen that. And like you say, if we can underestimate it and we can go there and they underestimate us and we can maybe get a goal and try and keep their goals down to the minimum, then I think we'll be happy with the away game first.
My old grandpa always says never underestimate the Glasgow Rangers, and if they underestimate us, then they're going to get a fright. So I'm looking forward to it. Great distraction to have at this time of the season. It's great to be involved, and it's testament to Gerrard and his team that he's got us to this stage again. It's almost becoming a guarantee now that we're getting into these stages, and hopefully we can kick on.